I had insomnia. It all started my first year as a doctor. I just didn't take sleep seriously at all. Sleep isn't just a task that you do at nighttime. It's a continuous process that you work on throughout the day, from the moment you wake up in the morning to that afternoon grind, all the way through to the moments before your head hits the bed. So this is my story of how I went from a doctor with insomnia to sleeping like a pig in a vegan's house. Really well. So think about your brain like a busy office block. During the day, the staff are running around, keeping operations running smoothly, sending emails, filing new information. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of activity, there's a lot going on, and it generates a lot of waste. Now in the evening, the staff go home, giving the cleaners a chance to clean up all of that mess and leave the office nice and clean, ready for the next morning. But if people stay in the office all night, like you stay up all night, the cleaners can't do their job properly, the staff get sleepy too, and the brain is the same. When we sleep, our brain's molecular cleaners, what we call the glymphatic system, is 10 times more active than they are when you're awake. And your brain is literally flooded and washed with cerebrospinal fluid, aka brain juice. So if you don't get enough sleep, your brain can't flush out all of those toxic waste products that build up during the day. And it builds up and it starts to affect the function of the brain.
If you're anything like me, you get stressed easily. And this was no different when I started my first year as a doctor.
Now, I'm not a yoga guy. I've tried mindfulness and it is good, but what I really love are deep breathing exercises.
I'm gonna check out my blood pressure first. Let's turn that on. Okay, you see that? 114/67 with a pulse of 70. Let's go do some breathing exercises.
I'm gonna do one of my favorite breathing exercises, deep breathing exercise, 4-7-8 breathing. Okay, so you breathe in through the nose for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds or as close to that as you can, then you breathe out, you exhale through the mouth for 8 seconds. Perfect before sleep to wind down.
Now we're back, time for the moment of truth. Okay, that is pretty bloody good. It was 114 over something before, that's come down. This is 55, and it was 70. And that was just a few minutes of deep breathing exercises. Science.
Okay, so you've successfully chilled out, but mission is not yet complete. If you do what I used to do, and you get into bed, and you switch on the TV, or your iPhone, iPad, whatever, that's got a name. Revenge, bedtime, procrastination. It's not good when something has a name. It's tempting after a long, hard day at the office just to put up your feet and you scroll through your phone until your eyes get heavy, or you watch an episode of Stranger Things, but often 1 turns into 2, turns into 10, and then TikTok rabbit holes can go on into the early hours. Before you know it, it's 1 a.m. and you've got to get up in 5 hours. Not speaking from experience. Why do we do this to ourselves? There's a concept in sleep science called revenge bedtime procrastination, and it describes the decision to sacrifice sleep for leisure time because your daily schedule is so busy that the only alone time you get is when you should be sleeping. And we do this even though we know it's unhealthy. So I'd finish 10, 12-hour shifts at work, I'd come home, and sometimes I'd even fit in a cheeky gym session before. I am knackered. I'll switch off the lights, and despite spending all day struggling to keep my eyes open, as soon as I switch the lights off, I'm struggling to go to bed. Now, why is that? Well, we can blame Netflix. For starters, we've been stimulating our brains for the last however many hours binging. Now, just behind your eyes is a small, crucial brain structure called the hypothalamus, which is involved in sleep regulation. Now, when your brain detects the light, it sends signals to the rest of the brain to suppress the release of this sleep-inducing hormone, melatonin. Less melatonin that you have means that you go to sleep later and you wake up feeling tired. Basically, it knocks your entire body out of sync, and this is why Netflix, YouTube, and TikTok, and all the rest of the frills of modern society is killing our sleep. Also, avoid checking your phone in the middle of the night as well. The eye and brain clocks are very sensitive to light at this time, and the light can signal to your body that it's still daytime, which can alter your sleep pattern for several days. It's a bit like jet lag. If you're looking at your phone at 1 a.m., you might as well have flown halfway across the world. In the evening, slowly starting to turn the lights off, keeping the overhead lights dim, going for amber lighting instead of the blue lighting, and placing the lamps low in the ground. Why don't you switch from that hour of Netflix just before you go to bed to reading a book? These are low stimulation activities which will probably make you feel sleepy far quicker than anything else would. Okay, so ignore the messy hair, I'll explain later. But considering everything I've said about light, this is going to sound like a really odd statement to make. But light can actually be good for your sleep, but it's about the timing of that light. So within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up in the morning, go outside and get some sunlight. But I live in the UK or somewhere where it's not really sunny or light in the morning. That light will still trickle through the clouds. So just go outside, get 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight. It's like an atmospheric coffee. And light is one of the best environmental cues that your body has to know it's daylight. And it's going to help you sleep better at night, give you more energy during the day, and yeah, generally pretty good. And I don't think I ever did this when I started as a doctor, which probably explains why my sleep sucked.
Do that again in the late afternoon as well, prior to sunset, because the sun is at a low solar angle. What is so special about sunlight in the morning at around sunset? Well, when the sun is low in the sky, at low solar angle, the retinal neurons that communicate with our main body clocks can be regulated to our sleep cycles way more easily. And if you live someplace with very minimal light, you could consider an artificial daytime stimulating source.
And obviously it goes without saying, don't stare directly at the sunlight, protect your eyes, just bask in that glow. And an added bonus, if it's a warm day as well in the morning like it is now, that's another environmental cue that tells your body it's daytime. A rise in core body temperature will actually make you feel more alert. Do this for 5 to 10 minutes every morning, and you'll thank me. Now, we can't really talk about sleep without talking about coffee.
And I'm going to go ahead and say, and this is slightly controversial, but coffee is killing your sleep. It is literally an anti-sleep chemical. You see, caffeine works by blocking receptors that detect a key sleep signal in the brain. This signal, called adenosine, builds up gradually throughout the day, making you feel more and more sleepy until it's finally time to hit the hay. Now, don't get me wrong, it can make you feel more energetic, more alert, more focused, but it needs to be used at appropriate times and at the right time and in appropriate quantities. And a general rule, I'd say limit coffee after 2 p.m. and leave it to a maximum of 4 cups in a day. Now, moving on from coffee to sedatives. Now, you might think alcohol is a great way to get to sleep. I mean, who doesn't feel completely zonked out after a glass of red wine? Alcohol actually does the opposite. It's a sedative, and even a moderate amount of alcohol can slash the time you spend in deep sleep, which is the most important part of the sleep cycle, especially REM sleep, the time when you have the most vivid dreams. I will disclose, however, that I'm currently doing an N=1 trial of myself to see what role magnesium has in sleep and if it changes anything at all. So far, I am sleeping better, but then again, my overall sleep hygiene is pretty good, and I've optimized that even more. I have a good sleep schedule, etc. But I will keep you posted.
What do you eat and when do you eat it? Does it matter? There's a lot of food myths floating around, and 2 in particular that I keep coming across time and time again. Does cheese give you nightmares, and can tryptophan make you sleepy?
You see, cheese is high in fat, and anything high in fat, or in fact any large meal right before bed, can keep you up. Your stomach takes about 90 minutes to empty 50% of the contents into the small intestine. So if you have a huge meal before bed, you'll increase the risk of indigestion and acid reflux, which is not great for sleep quality. So because of this, it's better to wait at least 90 minutes after your last big meal before you go to bed. But what you eat during the day can have an impact too. Not eating enough protein or fiber can reduce sleep quality. You know, a diet high in saturated fats, ultra-processed foods, and sugar may be associated with a lighter, less restorative sleep. Tryptophan is a direct precursor to melatonin, that sleep-inducing molecule we mentioned before. Now, tryptophan is usually found in foods like chicken, turkey, eggs, milk, fish, beans, and seeds. Foods high in tryptophan provide your body with tryptophan, but they don't directly make you sleepy. Instead, when you eat foods high in carbohydrates, your body is able to use previously stored tryptophan. So ideally, a snack high in both is ideal if you're craving some munchies before bed. I remember I used to eat all sorts of crap after work and wonder why I'd wake up with a sore throat and acid reflux. And then to top it all off, I'd feel guilty about eating before bed and thought exercise would be an ideal way to burn off those calories.
Sleep and exercise have this bi-directional relationship where if you work out at some point in the day, you'll sleep better. And if you sleep better, you'll enjoy your workouts more and they'll be more of an efficient workout. If you exercise too close to bedtime, then you will increase those stress hormones, increase adrenaline, increase cortisol, which is going to make you feel wired. You're going to raise your core body temperature, you're going to raise your heart rate, you're going to raise your blood pressure, all the things you don't want immediately before going to bed. And that's vigorous exercise. If you have a gentle walk before bed, that's probably fine as long as you don't massively raise your heart rate. But yeah, exercise, fantastic to help you sleep, but the timing of it, do not do vigorous exercise right before you go to bed.
Like I said, you need a gradual process of shutting down before bed. Now, the environment you sleep in can really affect how easily you slip into slumberland. Your bedroom needs to be a sleep sanctuary, free of distractions and outdoor lights. The more distractions you have in the bedroom, if you're bringing in work, TV, food, our brains will start to make associations and will associate your bed with these other activities and not just see it as a place of sleep. Now, talking of distractions, I hate alarm clocks. I can't get over the PTSD of my alarm clock going off every day at 5:45 before work when I used to start as a doctor. Now, your sleep cycles are on average 90 minutes long, and your alarm goes off at a set time, and unless you specifically planned your wake up time to coincide with hopefully what is the end of a sleep cycle, your alarm will drag you from the dredges of a deep sleep and make you feel groggy. This feeling is called sleep inertia. So instead, try something called the 90-minute rule. Work out what time you need to wake up. For example, 7 a.m., work backwards in 90-minute blocks. So you get to 11:30, for example, or just around then. That will hopefully wake you up at the lighter stage of sleep towards the end of the sleep cycle so you feel refreshed. And if you eventually build up a good sleep schedule, you won't even need alarms as well. Your body needs a drop of around 1 to 3 degrees to fall and stay asleep effectively. And body temperature increases are one of the reasons you wake up. So if you keep your room cool, remove blankets as needed, you'd sleep well.
So with some of that advice, you should now be well and truly on your way to being a sleep champion. And as Truman would say, good morning. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.